Alright everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It is finally that time where I'm going to go ahead and talk about all of my predictions of what I think may or may not happen for the upcoming Legends Festival. So if you guys enjoy the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. We do have a campaign going on currently, the hashtag sub to D free campaign, where we are trying to hit our end of the year sub goal of 285,000 subscribers on the channel. If we don't hit it, it's not a huge deal, but I would like to try to hit that, so please share the video with your friends. And also another thing that we are doing is changing our name in Legends to sub to D free. If you guys are playing like co-op or PvP, whatever, so obviously people can see that. That being said, about a week ago to the day, they did go ahead and drop this Legends Festival preview trailer, showing that we will be getting content around the 23rd. We'll have a video and stuff around then, and I'll be back, obviously, reacting to that, probably in a live fashion. If not, I'll have videos directly after talking about what we saw. Now, what I'll tell you is that this video is going to more or less talk about my predictions, some of the top community predictions as well, because it has been some time. I tried to let this kind of like boil over a little bit, think about it a little bit myself and things like that. So what I'll tell you though is that this is not going to be a very quick video. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. This is actually my third take recording it because the last two are too long. I'll try to make this as quick as possible where we just kind of jump through, but what you can expect is, again, my predictions, and we're going to compare this year to last year in terms of content release schedules. That being said, let's go ahead and watch the trailer very briefly here. I'll talk about anything of note in the trailer and we'll go from there. I can't full screen it because it might just mess up my recording, so bear with me. Okay, so very quickly, I'll kind of break down this trailer scene for scene. There's nothing here. These are just characters. Don't worry about this. There's no hints or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you up front, I don't think there's any hints in this trailer you should really be thinking about. And I know there's a couple like this one. One thing that people talked about, the fact that this could be, the idea that this could be a Super Dragon Ball. Again, even if it is, I wouldn't take that as being a hint for anything coming in particular. There's a much more interesting one that's a little bit later. But even if it is what it is. It may not be, it may just be a zoomed in regular Dragon Ball, it doesn't matter. This is not a hint at any upcoming Zenkais. You may see a character like, I don't know, I don't think it'll be him, but let's just throw a name out there. Actually, Yellow Hit, I guess, is an older one. You may see him get a Zenkai next week. It will not be because this was a hint. It's just because he was pending a Zenkai and it just so happened to line up. Same goes for this next one. Same deal here. These characters, some of them are older like Hercule and Green Raditz. Sure, they could get a Zenkai any day now. Not a hint. Last thing is, this one here is kind of interesting. I do like this one. So this one's a little tricky to see, so I'll zoom it a bit. I wish I had the side-by-side shot, but I remember Goresh tweeted this a while ago. There is a scene where Goku, I have to go back and rewatch the exact scene from Super because it's been like 4 years or whatever, but there was a scene where Jiren and Goku are fighting, and Goku stands up and he's in the MUI form, and this looks like that, the eye here for Jiren, because Jiren is looking at it, and then in the eye you see him staring at Goku. You see the forehead here. If this is that side-by-side shot, like I said, the side-by-side shot looks very much like this, and then there's another eye off screen in terms of Jiren. But I'm just going to tell you, I don't think this video was in any way meant to be a tease at anything. Like, even if that is what that is in the background, and there's little flames here going as well, even if that is what that is in the background, I don't think this is meant to be any sort of tease towards anything at all. It's just a hype trailer. If there was a tease in here, it would be a lot more noticeable than something like that, in my opinion. So the immediate speculation people have is we are going to get UI Goku and Jiren. I'll tell you straight up, I don't think that's the most likely case. Probably second most likely thing to happen, but I don't think it's the literal most likely thing to happen. I'll tell you right now, do not get married to any idea. Do not assume that something specific is happening. Let me tell you, this year is very different than last year. Last year, around this time, I was like, dude, and this was really funny to see because a lot of people are like, no, there's no way they'll do that, right? I was like, the game is really very clearly setting up UI Goku and Jiren, like very, very clearly. And around that time, we had that leak on the App Store or whatever, fun time. And it's like, yeah, this is happening. And I was like, another funny thing that's kind of like really possible is Gogeta Blue. And again, nobody expected it because it's like, why would they do that? It's outside of the anniversary, things like that. But what you need to know is that the end of the year period is where they have way better sales than the anniversary. It's not the anniversary that they're most worried about. It's the end of the year. So the end of the year time period last year was, at this time, it was Gogeta and UI back to back in consecutive releases. It's going to be like right here. Yeah, see, like, look at that. That's crazy, right? They're like a month apart or whatever in terms of release, because the Legends Festival is going to be taking place at the end of this month and moving on basically until the end of the year, pretty much. So overall, though, don't get married to any idea. But what I will tell you is that anything can happen at any point, and there doesn't have to be any specific correlation between whatever they do for Part 1 and Part 2. Just don't expect something specific. I personally think that throughout the year, we've had some really interesting undertones for content, like movies characters. I'll tell you right now, I think the most likely thing to happen is something Sagas from the movies related. I'll talk a little bit about what I think that could be, because there's a few different movies specifically they could try to pull content from. I think that's the most likely scenario, because one thing I've done throughout the years that the game's been out is I have always been, and this is, I'm probably one of the original people that was doing this. A lot of people do it now, but that's probably one of the originals. If you've been around for a while, you know what I'm talking about, where I would literally say, okay, well, there's a pattern to these releases, right? And at that time, there was a very distinct pattern. Like, I remember for the 1-year anniversary, I said, hey, they're going to either do Resurrection F content or they're going to do the LF Super Vegito. Well, I didn't know if it would be LF. It would be like Super Vegito, Buu Saga-based content. Sure enough, they did both, which is like such a random combination to think about, but they did both because it was a very laid out pattern, right? Now, this time around, things have changed a lot. This year, they're not as clear cut. And again, up to last year, same thing happened with the anniversary. I was like, the same type of content is like, okay, well, it's kind of laid out a little bit bait and switch at the end, but still. So this time around for this celebration, I can't really do that as accurately because the game has changed a lot in the year. What I'll tell you is last year around this time, there was no LF released prior to the celebration. Part of that was because at this time last year, LFs had not yet become a monthly commodity like they are now in the game. What they did do, however, that does have some similarity to what we got, was we got the return of Vegito Blue on a banner. This is a step-up banner with the introduction of Champa and Vados. Vegito Blue makes his first appearance, I believe, since the anniversary. I'm pretty sure that was the first one. And again, we saw something similar in terms of the release of the re-release of the anniversary characters recently, with Gohan and Gogeta making their appearance back on a regular banner. Now, again, it's not paired in the same fashion to release other characters, etc., but there was some correlation to that. And in a similar time slot as last year, Goku got his Zenkai. It's not another LF one, but I mean, we could get an LF Zenkai sometime between now and Legends Festival, I guess. But in a similar time slot for that Zenkai, we got this Zenkai, and again, nearly to the day, right? So keep that in mind. I don't think there's going to be an LF released between now and the celebration. I don't think we're going to get, for example, an LF in like a week and a half or whatever, and then turn around in 2 weeks and get another LF. I don't think they're doing that this time around because they didn't do it last year. I don't think that's what's going to happen. The topic for that is a little bit different than this video, but the speculation is that we get like a cooler or something, right? Because we got this Goku, and I don't think that's going to happen, for the record. So the next couple of weeks are probably going to be pretty dead banner-wise. We may get like a banner similar to that Champa Vados one, but for the most part, it's going to just be Zenkais and just maybe reruns. It's going to be a very dry period, which is good. That means you'll be able to save your stones. So I talked about how movies has had a nice little undertone for content recently. Let's go ahead and transition over to my tablet here so I can show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. I've picked up every character that is released pretty much ever, but well, yes, ever, but the only one I'm missing is the EX Jiren. So he's in here somewhere, but if we look at the most recent releases on the game, they're sort of by order released. We have the new movies characters. And the other things of note here are going to be things like the EX characters, free characters don't really matter, but the other things of note here would be some powerful opponent slash regen type of content. There's GT here, obviously, but it's mainly like God Keys slash universe survival content. So that's why I said I think that is a nice secondary agenda, but I think that personally, if we're talking specifically about the first part, because the second part, I'm not there yet. I need to see more of what we release here this month and between the two LF based banners that are probably going to be at the end of the month. And if we even get like a mid-December LF banner, I don't know if that'll happen, but I highly doubt that as well. I think for the next couple of months, we're just going to get them at the end of the month and then transition back to a normal schedule. Anyways, so it is movies content and Saga's care and Universe Survival / Rival Universe. Even back to the anniversary, again, there was some GT stuff mixed in here, but it's still a lot of that same type of stuff. But another undertone thing that we've got here was that we were getting a lot of like the Saga Z abilities, like with Frieza coming out, some of the minions and things like that, a lot of the Saga based characters. And we actually see that trend, I guess, take a step back in terms of timeline from Frieza to Saiyan Saga, but with the Saiyan Saga characters being a little bit more recent, we got the a little bit of an influx of the Saiyan Saga type stuff as well. So that's another thing that is a possibility. We could get some sort of Saga based character. Funnily enough, we were in Cell Saga with some of the content with the LF Cell release. There's not a ton of Cell characters here at all, really. It's just him and Gohan. But we could see more Cell Saga based characters that may actually finally buff that stupid tag, because I don't think there's anybody that buffs that tag at all. So yeah, it's another thing that's a possibility, probably the third likely scenario for me if we follow the same trend. But really, the thing is that, like I said, it's not as easy to predict because they're not doing the same sequential, okay, this leads to this, leads to this. And the most literal recent release in the game would be the Zamasu Zenkai. I don't think the Zamasu Zenkai is actually a hint at anything at all, to be honest. I think the Zamasu Zenkai was a character that they wanted to Zenkai anyway, but if we were to go ahead and get like a purple God Key based character that he would be Zenkai buffing, I think that he would come out after. The Zamasu Zenkai would come out after, similar to Cell and Janemba, for example, or like the other time we got a Red Cell and then the Red Cell Zenkai came out after. Like, you know, they do it after Gogeta Blue and the Vegeta that came out. They do that on purpose, right? It's intentional. I don't think that, you know, he's a precursor to anything if you're talking about Zamasu. So long story short, let's talk about the movie characters I think are most likely. I'm going to tell you straight up that, funnily enough, the most likely movie-based characters to come out are probably going to be Fusion Reborn-based. And the thing about Fusion Reborn is, you may think there's a lot of like Gogeta integration in the game. There's not actually a lot of movie DBZ Gogeta integration. There's a number of super ones already, but not a lot of movies for DBZ. It's like there's only like 2, right? Only 2 Gogetas in the entire game that are from that. And there's only 3 Janembas in the entire game as well, by the way. And he just got a Zenkai, yes, but they're all incredibly old characters. Look, yeah, they're all. There's GT1, there's 2 from DBZ, and they're both really old, even though one got a Zenkai, and there's 3 DBS ones, right? So like, it's a very good chance that they do something centered around this movie. I'm gonna tell you straight up. The other movies that are very likely, because there's the 13 original movies, and there's like the super, you know, ones in there was DBZ at the time, they got adapted into Super and in Resurrection F and Battle of Gods. I don't think they're doing anything with those, although I would like a Frieza for the record. And there's Broly movie content. Funnily enough, this time last year, almost about a month off, we did get Broly movie content, so I don't think they're going to do that again for another Legends Festival, right? So I think that one's off the table, and Superhero doesn't count yet. But the original 13 movies, let's just go through them quickly here. We have Dead Zone. No, they're not dropping any of that content for a celebration. World's Strongest with Dr. Wheelo, no. Tree of Might, I would like Turles, but no. Lord Slug, Fall Super Saiyan is not in these games for a reason, and no, it's not celebration worthy in my opinion. Funnily enough, though, they dropped Movie 9 content for the anniversary, so it really tells you what they think is and isn't celebration worthy, for the record. Return of Cooler is content we're getting right now. Could Cooler be a Legends Festival LF release? Sure. Do I think it's happening? I guess it's a wild card. Super Android 13 content, no, don't think that's a celebration worthy thing. Broly movie 1, which is movie 8, is actually a possibility. We could get a new Goku from that movie, because the funny thing about Goku is that like they really kind of dropped the ball, in my opinion, for Cooler content with this bird Goku not actually having the bird, not being the LF version of him. Like, you know, they saved that for an LF for later, right? So it'll probably happen. So the thing is, what's going to else happen from there? The Broly movie 1 has other options they could do, but not a ton. You know, base Broly going full power, or not full power, legendary Super Saiyan. Like, there's stuff like that that's available to them. Second Coming Broly, funnily enough, we got that free purple Broly from that movie. I would like to see a new Gohan. That would be awesome, but probably not going to happen too much here with the Second Coming. We already have those characters in the game already in the LF Goten and stuff like that. Bio Broly, no. Fusion Reborn, yes, I talked about that. And then Wrath of the Dragons is the wild card, because funnily enough, I don't know if it'll be an ultra for the character we get, but I would not be opposed to getting the Ryuden special. I just realized that I haven't switched back to my freaking computer screen. Whoops. The Ryuden special for the Wrath of the Dragon. That would be awesome, man. I would not mind getting an LF there. But the funny thing is that, like, this could be taken as a bit of a precursor, because we did get the Ape Vegeta, who actually has a built-in, you know, giant mechanic in which you would need that for Hirudegarn to be done in his most accurate form. The thing about Hirudegarn is, how would they implement him ever in this game outside of celebrations? Like, how would they ever implement Hirudegarn outside of being like some world boss or whatever, like a raid boss type deal? How would they ever implement him as a playable character? It would have to be something probably similar to what they're doing already with Ape Vegeta, or just say, okay, fine, we'll make him huge compared to the other models. Like, for example, Fusion Zamasu is massive or small compared to corrupted Fusion Zamasu. Like, things like that, or like the Topos are huge, the Brolys are really big, you know, in comparison to other characters. Sometimes they're so big you can't even see everything on the screen at once. Like, I point this out in my videos, and that's something that also, like, Contest of Champions does, and other mobile games, stuff like that. So, like, things like that are possible, but Hirudegarn would be probably like a weird character to ever introduce in the series, or in the game from the series, because of his size. Would it be like a LF Tapion that, like, transforms, or like, what would they do? Minosha, like, is it a Tapion Minosha duo card that turns into Hirudegarn? Like, what would they do with that, you know? So I'm curious, but it just seems like a movie they can't skirt around forever, right? They'll eventually do something based around that movie. So a celebration would make sense, right? And then you get the Ultra or LF Dragon Fist Goku as well. So yeah, long story short, because I've already gone longer than I wanted, I don't think that the immediate hints are pointing towards universe survival / tournament of power content. I would say that would be my second guess, but I think my first guess is movies content, specifically with the focus on Fusion Reborn. And if it's not that, again, I would say I think that's the next best guess for the Tournament of Power content. Like, I would like for them to do more content outside of just what we're expecting, though. If it is Tournament of Power, like a duo Gohan and Aiden and Piccolo would be awesome. Krillin 18, like, there's a lot of stuff they could do. A full power Roshi would be hecka dope. So, like, there's content they can do there. It's not the most hype content, but we'll see what they do. And this is all specifically for part 1. I just don't know part 2. Part 2 doesn't even have to have any correlation to part 1 either, because, like I said, Gogeta has no relation to freaking UI Goku, outside of them both being Goku, I guess, but you get the point. So yeah, that's pretty much it. My third guess would be some sort of saga-based character. I didn't really talk much about it, but I mean, Buu Saga or Cell Saga, I guess, would make the most sense. There's not a lot of Buu content that's come out recently, so unless they want to kind of do the thing that they did with, like, GT, I guess, and just do a crap ton of influx of characters shortly thereafter, then that's fine too. The same goes for Cell, even though we got the new Cell. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see all of you in the next video.